Hello everyone, my name is Michael and I am the Crafty Crocheter. Today I will be reviewing a yarn that has come onto the marketplace as of recently, and once I saw this yarn I had to get it and try it out for myself. I will be reviewing Red Heart's all-in-one granny square yarn. And here's the skein. And then their slogan is no color switching, just keep on stitching. And it is 100% acrylic. 100% acrylic yarn. It is 417 yards or 381 meters, weighing at 8.8 ounces or 250 grams. It is a number 4 worsted weight yarn, and according to the skein, it says you can get 14 squares out of it. But with the last skein that I worked with, I was able to get 15.5 squares, and I will show you what those squares look like. So I was able to get 15, this is 15.5 squares. So here is the completed square. This was their black and green square, and you can see the different color changes, slight variation of changes with the black border. And then this was the half yarn, because this was the yarn that was left over, but I basically made a granny square just to free that up. And I felt that I owed it to someone who has never made a traditional granny square ever, that I will provide instruction on how to create one, so that way when they're ready to go they'll be able to move on to the Red Heart granny square yarn and get that right. And for this review I will be using the same hook size for both samples. Now the recommended hook size is a size 9 or an size I yarn, and that's the same hook I used for the green and black granny squares, so I am going to go with that as well for this review. Now the trick to using this yarn and getting it right is all about adjusting your tension. When I first started working with this yarn, I went with loose tension, and then when the loose tension didn't seem to work out for me, I went a little tighter, and then once I adjusted it to the tension that was right for me, it seemed to work without fail. And you pretty much have to hit the Goldilocks zone. Got to get it just right so that the colors seem to change seamlessly. Now in the past with the black and green squares, I tried using a J hook at first, and then that didn't work out, so then I moved down to a H size, and then when both of those proved to be unsuccessful, I went on to a size I, and then the size I hook seemed to be the golden ticket, and that worked for me. I will first show how to create a traditional granny square, and then I will move on to the Red Heart granny square yarn, so that the squares come out perfect every single time. So if you have your hook and your yarn, let's go ahead and get this party started. Alright everyone, here is how to make a traditional granny square. And as I mentioned before, I will be using a size I hook for this sample. And I'm using a light green yarn so you can see the stitches better. Again, you don't have to use a light green yarn. I'm just doing this just so that way you can see the stitches better when I go through this tutorial. Alright, so to begin, you want to create your slip knot, and if you don't remember how to create a slip knot, you can take this piece of yarn, go over to the left, and then this strand should be over this strand here, and then take this strand, go behind the yarn, and then remember what I call this the pretzel before you finish the slip knot. So then there's the pretzel, then there's that strand of yarn right here. You're going to go from under it back to front, then pull these two loops, pull, and then there's your slip knot. So to begin the granny square, you want to chain 6. So I'm going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So make sure you have 6 chains to start with, and then you're going to take the hook, go into the first chain, and then you're going to slip stitch it to join. So to do the slip stitch, you're going to yarn over and pull through both loops, and then that is your slip stitch. So you should have a circle or a ring, so to speak, to start. Once you have that ring started, you're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And then you're going to work 2 more double crochets into the ring. So yarn over, go through the center of the ring, pull the yarn up, and then you're going to do a double crochet. So again, double crochet, yarn over, first 2 loops, then yarn over the last 2 loops. Pull in some more yarn. And then you're going to do the double crochet again, yarn over, then go through the center of the ring, pull up, and then pull through the 2 loops, and then yarn over, then pull through the last 2 loops. And then there is your 3 double crochets, and that chain 3, your starting chain 3, does count as your double crochet. After you make that third double crochet, you're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3, and then you're going to slightly turn this a little bit, then you're going to yarn over again. You're going to create 3 more double crochets into this ring. So we're going to do 3 double crochets. 1, yarn over, pull through, 2, yarn over, go through the center ring, pull up, yarn over, and then that's your third double crochet. And then chain 3. Again, you can turn this slightly, yarn over, go through the center ring right here, pull up, and then you're going to create 3 double crochets in that ring. Give me a second. There we go. 1, 2, and this is going to be number 3. So see how that square is forming? So then you're going to repeat this one more time. So chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Hang on, let me try it again. I lost that part. Let me try again. Then chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Turn, slight turn. Then you're going to work 3 more double crochets into this center ring. Yarn over, go through the ring, pull up. Then you have 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over, pull through twice. 1, 2, and then this would be number 3. And then when you have that last group of double crochet stitches done, you're going to chain 3, and then you're going to slip join to the third chain in your starting chain. So be 1, 2, and 3. So you're going to pull through the third chain from the start, then you're just going to slip stitch it. And then that is your base round for your granny square. So you see there's the ring, and then there's the 4 sets of double crochets. So to start the next round, from here you're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then you're going to yarn over, and then you're going to work 3 double crochets into this next chain space. So you can do, that's 1, 2, and 3. So then when you're done with this, you're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Pull some more yarn. Then you're going to work 3 more double crochets into that same chain space. So yarn over, go through that chain space, and you're going to work 3 more double crochets into that same chain space. That's 2. Then that's number 3. So then see how your corner is starting to form right here, right? Starting to form for your second round. So then you're going to chain 1, and then you're going to work 3 double crochets into this next chain space. So you got yarn over, go through that chain space, pull up the yarn, then work 3 double crochets into that next chain space. That's 3. And then as we did with this corner here, you're going to chain 3, and then you're going to create 3 more double crochets into the same chain space. So yarn over, go through that chain space, pull up the yarn, and then yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops. And that is your double crochet. Again, you're going to create 2 more of these into that same chain space. It's 2, and that's 3. And then again, you're going to repeat this around until you get to this last corner, and I'll show you what to do when we get there. So I'm going to go ahead, yarn over, chain 1, yarn over, go into the next chain space and work 3 double crochets into that next chain space. Then chain 3, yarn over, go make 3 more double crochets into that same chain space. One, 2, that's 3, and then chain 1, yarn over, go into the next chain space and work 3 double crochets into that chain space. 2, and 3. Then you're going to chain 3, 2, and 3, and this starting chain counts as your 3rd double crochet within this chain space. So you're going to create 2 more double crochets into this chain space. So yarn over, pull through, work a double crochet. That's 1, and then this is number 2. And as I mentioned, this starting chain of your second round does count as your 3rd double crochet. So you're going to count up 3, 3rd up, 1, 2, 3. Then you're going to slip stitch and join that 3rd double crochet. So basically you're repeating this pattern all the way around until you get to the desired size you want. So I'll do it. So since you have this round to start, and this is an empty square, you're going to create 3 double crochets in this chain space. So you're going to do 1, chain 3, chain 3, and this is your first double crochet. So then you're going to make 2 more double crochets in that space. Oops. Not as neat as I like. Let me go ahead and start that again. That's 2. That's 3. Then you're going to chain 1, and then you're going to create 3 double crochets into this next chain space. So I'm going to go ahead and do 3 in that chain space. 1, 2, and 3. And then as before, when you get to this corner, you're going to chain, when you're done with this trio of double crochets into the new corner chain space, you're going to chain 3 and work 3 more double crochets into that same chain space. 1, 2, and this is number 3. And again, you see how that corner is starting to form on your third round. And then you chain, and then you're basically repeating this around until you get to this. So I'm going to go ahead and work this around here. So then, yeah, I'll do one more repeat, and then I'll meet you at the end of this, and I'll show you what to do there. So let's do one more repeat. So chain 1. Oh, I did chain 1. Oh, no, I did not. Chain 1. Then you're going to work 3 double crochets into this next chain space. 1, 2, and 3. So you're going to go ahead and repeat that same process all around. So you're going to chain 1, work, so chain 1, work 3 double crochets into the next corner chain space. Then after your trio is done, chain 3, and then work 3 more double crochets into the same chain space. And then you're going to repeat this all around until you get to this corner. So go ahead and work that, and then I'll meet you there as soon as you're done. Alright everyone, we're at the end, near the end of the round. So when you have your last trio of double crochets in your final chain space, you're going to see this little gap between your starting chain and the last double crochet you did. So to finish the round, all you got to do is chain 1, and then you're going to go through the third chain from the starting row, 1, 2, 3, and you're going to go through the loop and then slip join it. So you're going to create a slip stitch, and then that is the end of round 3. Now to start round 4, since we have a trio of double crochets here, you're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's make sure I'm right on that. Yeah, so I'm right. Okay, let's make sure I got my bearing straight. Okay, so you're chaining 4 from the start, and then you're gonna join. Then you're gonna go ahead and create. Hang on, let me start again. I screwed up. Right, so okay. All right, so we just ended round 3. So to start round 4, you are going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then you're gonna do 3 double crochets into this next chain space. So go ahead and do 1, 2, and 3. So then from here you're going to chain 1, and then we're at our corner chain space. So when you get to a corner chain space, you're going to work 3 double crochets in that chain space. It's going to be 1, yarn over, 2, and then 3. Then you're going to chain 3, 2, 3, and work 3 more double crochets into this same corner chain space. Two, and this is 3. So basically the trick to knowing when to chain 3 and when to chain 1 is when you get to a corner chain space, you work 3 double crochets, then you chain 3, then you work 3 more double crochets into that exact same chain space. Then for every other chain space, you're just going to chain 1 and work 3 double crochets into each of the chain spaces. So I'll go ahead and I'll do a couple. So go ahead and chain 1, go into the next chain space, and you're going to work 3 double crochets. This is number 2, and this is the third. This is number 3. And then again, since you have a chain space that's not a corner, you're going to chain 1, yarn over, and then you're going to work 3 double crochets into the next chain space. So it's going to be 1, 2, and 3, and then we're coming upon the corner, but since we're at this point, you just have to chain 1. Then you're gonna go over and work 3 double crochets into that corner chain space. Oops, I missed that. 2 and 3. Then, since we finished the trio of double crochets into that corner chain space, you're going to chain 3, 2, 3, and then you're going to work 3 more double crochets into that same chain space. 1, 2, oops, 2, and then the final one, number 3. Okay, so basically the trick to knowing when to chain 3 and when to chain 1, again, as I mentioned, just in case I did not communicate that correctly. So when you're going to the next chain space that is not going into the next round, you're going to chain 1, work 3 double crochets into every chain space, including this corner, and then when you're done with the 3 double crochets on this corner, actually when you're done with your first trio of double crochets in this corner, you chain 3, and then you work 3 more double crochets into this exact same chain space, and then you repeat the process until you get to the end of the round. So I will let you go ahead and work with that. Again, from here, chain 1, work 3 double crochets, chain 1, work 3 double crochets, chain 1, work 3 double crochets, chain 3, then slightly turn your work, and then you're going to work 3 more double crochets into this exact same chain space. So go ahead and work on that repeat, and then once you're there, I will meet you, and then I will show you what to do at the end of round 4. Alright everyone, we're at the end, near the end of round 4, so I'm going to show you how to complete the round. So now we just completed the second trio of double crochets at the last corner chain space. So what you're going to do here is you're going to chain 1, and then you're going to work 2 more double crochets into this chain space, because this chain 4 counts as your third double crochet within this chain space. So I'm going to go ahead and do 2 more double crochets, 1 and 2. So then to finish the round, you're going to slip join the third double crochet to it. So count 3 from the bottom of the starting chain, insert the hook into the loop, and then you're going to just do a slip stitch to join it. So then that is the end of round 4. So to start round 5, again, since we have a space here to start, we're going to go ahead and we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and this chain 3, it does count as your double crochet for this chain space. So you're going to chain 2 more into this chain space. So go ahead and yarn over, do 1 and then 2. So then that is your trio starting of round 5, your starting trio of double crochets for round 5. So then again, as before, when you see a space that is not the start of a new side, you're going to chain 1 and work 3 double crochets into the empty chain space. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and do a couple with you. So go ahead, chain 1, then yarn over your hook, and then you're going to work 3 double crochets into this chain space, here. So I'm going to work 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. So now we're coming upon a corner, but we haven't started a new side. So from here, you just need to chain 1. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 1, yarn over, and then you're going to work 3 double crochets into the corner chain space, the next corner chain space. I'm having a hard time with yarn today. 1, 2, and 3. Now we finished the first trio of double crochets for this corner chain space. So since we're starting a new side, you're going to go ahead and chain 3, 2, and 3. And then you're going to yarn over and work 3 more double crochets into this exact same chain space. So I'll work 3 more. 1, 2, and 3. So as with round 4, you're going to basically repeat the same process until you get to the end. So I'm going to pull this up a little bit. So you're going to pull this up. There we go. So you're going to, after this, chain 1, go in and work 3 double crochets into this chain space, chain 1, work 3 double crochets into the next chain space, chain 1, work 3 double crochets into the next chain space. And since we're coming upon a corner but not starting a new side, chain 1, work 3 double crochets into this corner chain space. Then once you're done with the first trio of corner trio of 3 double crochets, chain 3, and then you're going to work 3 more double crochets into this exact same chain space, and then you're going to repeat the process on the remaining sides until you get to this last chain space. So if you need any help, go ahead and rewind the video. Go ahead, continue with your work, and then I will meet you at the end of round 5. Alright folks, we're at the end of round 5, and you may have noticed this you may have seen this before with round 3, to where you have the starting chain of round 5 and the end. So basically, to finish the round, you're going to basically chain 1, and then you're going to join this to the third chain from the starting chain. Let's count 1, 2, 3, then insert your hook into the loop, and then we're going to just slip join it. So you can just do a slip stitch to join it. Alright, and that is the completed granny square, and I did 5 rounds because that's how the red heart yarn does it. So to fasten off, you just make sure you have enough yarn. I'm just gonna take and snip right there, and then to fasten off, I like this method that Creative Grandma uses. It creates a secure knot so your work doesn't unravel. So go ahead and you're gonna chain 2, then pull your yarn up through the loop, grab this, pinch it, and then grab this other piece, pinch and pull, and this creates a secure knot. And then with this extra yarn, you can just weave them in with a yarn needle, or you can weave it in with your crochet hook. Alright everyone, that is how you create a traditional granny square. Now on to the red heart granny square yarn. Alright, now we're at the tutorial for the red heart granny square yarn, and as I mentioned, this is a little trickier to do than a traditional granny square. With the last tutorial, I just used one solid color, so there was no worry about adjusting tension or paying attention to when the color runs out, as you would face with this yarn. So I'm going to show you a little trick that I learned to differentiate the colors for this particular yarn. And if you see by the label, you see some slight variations of color, and sometimes it's hard to tell when one color starts and when one color ends and another starts. I do have a trick for that, and what I do is I take a piece of white bread bag twine, or this is a bread wrapper twine, and then you wrap it around the demarcation point between the previous color and the next color. And this came in handy when I was working with the green yarn, because there were some slight variations of green, like dark green, light green, and then according to this label I'm going to run across the same issue, so that's why I'm showing you this trick. So it is recommended to pull out enough to pull out the yarn to where you start the next color. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and see right here how it's a slightly different. This is slightly lighter, and then over here is slightly darker, so you can't really tell on this because either the lighting or it's the way the yarn is designed. So I try to find the closest demarcation point. Then I take the twine or this bread tie and I wrap it around right where I see the color change, so that way you know where to gauge where, if you're going to run out of that color yarn or not. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it around a couple times, so that way you know where that. Oh, this thing is being tricky today. There we go. This did wrap it around enough. So now you know where the first color starts and the new color begins. So to start with this yarn, according to the directions, it does say you need to leave 4 inches of yarn, a tail of yarn, to start. And luckily I did measure this handle and it is 4 inches, so I use that as a guide. So you just create your slip knot roughly where that 4 inches is. So I'm going to go ahead and do my slip knot. And then if it's a little off, then it's going to happen. But then this is where you have to worry about your tension. So let me adjust this again. It's a little too long, I think. I'll do it right about here. And you can always adjust this if it's not 4 inches at the start. Again, this handle is about 4 inches, and there you go. So it's exactly 4 inches. If it's a little off, then that's not a big deal. But they do recommend you start off with a longer, like a 4-inch strand of yarn, because you just can't start at the very beginning and start stitching and hope and pray that the colors change without fail. So again, you're going to start this the same exact way as you do with a standard granny square. So I'm going to chain 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then loop through. Then you're going to slip through here. All right, and then you're going to chain 3, and then tension's important, so you just got to adjust your tension if it's not right. You may have to rip this out a couple times in order for the color change to go seamlessly. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little tighter tension like I did. Here's 3, then so this is the 1, 2, and 3. It looks like the center is more of like a crimson color, so it's a really dark red color. It may look different because of the light on the camera, but for me, I'm seeing it as a crimson color. Then you're going to yarn over, work your second set of your second trio double crochets. Chain 3. Again, this is exactly the same way as you would start a traditional granny square. And also you want to watch your guide here, because you want to make sure you don't run out of yarn before you're done with your round, because then otherwise you have to rip out your work and start over again. So I'm on my third trio. 1, 2, 3, and go ahead, work your last trio of double crochets into the ring. Sometimes that piece of yarn gets in the way, that tail. Okay, looks like I'm gonna make it, because I think this tension's just right. Oh, unless I spoke too soon, maybe. Again, this is kind of difficult to see, so I may be able to get away with that if I just do the. Like I said, it's kind of you gotta adjust your tension every so often, just to make sure that you have that just right. And I'm starting to see the color change, so I think I'm spot on. I'll go ahead, go to the third loop. Okay, so that actually turned out perfect. So you see how there's it's a lighter color versus the darker color. So then you're gonna work the next round. Again, I'm going to pull out enough yarn. The next color change should be like a slight light pink, and then it's going to be a little darker, so I'm going to look out for that darker stir. There we go. Here's the color change here. You see how it kind of changed to like a, you can definitely see the difference in this one. There's a darker on this side, and right here is the demarcation point, and then this is the end of your second round yarn. So I'm going to go ahead and, to the best of my ability, I'm going to go ahead and tie this white bread wrapper twine around that demarcation point, so that way you know when your yarn's going to run out. We'll go ahead, move that off to the side, and then I'm going to start just as you would with the second round of the traditional granny square. So you're going to chain 4, and make sure you got to monitor your amount of yarn you have. You don't want it too tight, you don't want it too loose either, because then you'll run out, then you'll have to rip out your work and start all over again. So far so good. I'm not having any issues with it. The real tell will come from when I get to the end of this color. Okay, so on my corner. And especially, and then the next yarn, I'm also working swatches with the flower power yarn, and that is when tension is really important, especially for the first couple of rounds of that. But I will do a review video on that, so stay tuned. Okay, so far I'm looking good. I'm not running out of yarn yet. It's just looking good. Alright, so far so good. Keeping the tension a little the same as I did with the first round, but I'm starting to, now I should loosen up my tension a bit, because I'm starting to see that my yarn is about, I'm almost done with the round, but I still have some little bit of yarn left over, so I'm going to loosen my tension a little bit. But there is a trick to the excess yarn. I learned this off of another channel. I have to look that up and include it in the description. Okay, and here's the round number. Actually, I think I got this spot on. Actually, holy crap, I got that right on. I was wrong. Again, sometimes it's a guessing game at times, but see how I made it to round 3, and you see the color change right about here. So I judged it just perfectly. So I'll go ahead and do this. And actually the color swatch is right on, actually. So move to the next color so you can tell that it is spot on. So the next color swatch I'll do. Then again, you want to pull your yarn out to get to the next color, so that way you can adjust, tie your string or your wire to where the demarcation point is. Okay, there we go. So now the colors right about here, and you can tell in the camera right there, that demarcation point right here. So I'm going to go ahead and twist that tie around. It's not an exact science, but again, this is what I've done with the last skein of yarn, and it seemed to turn out well for me, so I'm going to use that technique again. So feel free to use that hack as well if you're having trouble distinguishing between the different colors and when it's going to end and when the new one begins. So I'm going to go ahead and work this third round, and then when I get to the end, I will meet you there and let you know if I make it or not. Alright, looks like I'm at the end of round 3, and I have a little bit of this yarn left, so it looks like I am going to make it. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the round. I do have one more. Okay, so I have slight bit, but this is not bad, so I'm going to go ahead and chain 1. Okay, so there's a slight bit, but that's not terrible as far as the color change. I mean, you're gonna have that sometimes. It's not a perfect science. So again, you have to adjust your tension, play around with it to see that what works for you. So again, go ahead, pull the yarn out until you get to the fourth color runs out, and then you get to the black border. And it should come up here shortly. There we go. There's the black border, then right here is the demarcation point. And I'm still going to mark it off, even though I can differentiate between the two strands to two colors. I'm going to go ahead and still mark that off anyway, so that way I know when that end is coming up. Alright, so again, I'm going to go ahead and work this fourth round and see if I get to the black border without any issues, and I will meet you when I'm done with round 4. Alright, it looks like I made it to the end of round 4, and I have a little bit of extra yarn left over, so I'm going to go ahead and work and join this together. So count 3 up from the chain right here, and I'm going to loop this through. And so you have extra yarn left over. So what I do is I just do single crochet. I just work slip stitches until I get to basically here. Just slip stitches just to cover up. I'm gonna go ahead and do this one here. Do one more, and there is the beginning of the last round. So again, pull out your yarn, and you're going to be able to tell the difference between the black border and the beginning of the next square. There we go, and that is the end of. But I'm going to wrap this around right about here. At the starting and ending point, or I call it the demarcation point. that black yarn is your border for the square. So I'm going to go ahead, and since I got here, I'm going to start, do one more slip stitch here. Then I'm going to start round 5, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to work 3 doubles in here. Again, monitoring my tension and my yarn that I have left over. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to work this round all the way around, and then once I get to the end, I will meet you there and let you know if I have succeeded in adjusting my tension accordingly. Alright, I'm at the end of round 5, and it looks like I barely have enough yarn to finish the round. So all I need to do now is to chain 1 and to slip join it. So I'm going to chain 1, and this black yarn is kind of hard to see, so I'm going to judge the 3rd loop, or the 3rd chain, and then I'm going to slip join it. Alright, and then you see this beginning color, so I'm going to go ahead, where's my scissors? And I'm going to snip off a little bit because you're going to need some of this for the next square. So I'm going to fasten off, and we have just enough to fasten off. Alright, so overall it wasn't really terrible. I had to keep mind of my tension. When here I started with kind of like not so much tight tension, but towards the end I had to adjust my tension tighter because I found that I was running out of yarn. When I was using my previous tension for the earlier rounds. So overall, it's all about tension control. So my review of this yarn is it's easy to use, and the colors change seamlessly, and I didn't have too much excess yarn, and I only ran out a couple times, so I had to go back and rip out my work and adjust for tension. But once I did that, it turned out the way I wanted it to. I hope everyone enjoyed this video / tutorial. Now, a word to the wise, it does take some time and practice to get that tension and rhythm just right so that your squares come out perfect every time when using the Red Heart Granny Square yarn. But once you achieve that sweet spot, then those squares will come out like nothing. It'll just be like second nature. So hopefully everyone's day, afternoon, evening, or night is going well. And I plan on doing some more review videos in the future, so stay tuned for those. As a reminder, this is a safe and creative space for all. Again, I appreciate everyone's support for this channel, and I hope to hear some feedback from my current subscribers and also from more of you non-subscribers. And on that note, don't forget to like and/or subscribe. Take care of yourself and each other.